Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Zach's Credit Card Guide. This week we're talking about 5 easy ways to meet minimum spends. These are kind of the tips that I keep in mind when I'm looking at a new card and when I get one and now I need to hit a minimum spend. These are 5 of the things that at least I look for to try to make sure that I hit it and get the bonus. So the first one, and this is kind of a no-brainer, but just simply use it for everything. Pick one of your cards in your wallet that you can live without for a couple months or however long it takes you to do this, and put the card in your wallet. Use it for absolutely everything. Unless you know for 100% that you're going to hit the minimum spend for whatever reason, just make sure you use that card for absolutely everything. So even if you have like a Sapphire Reserve, if you're going out to eat, use that new card, even if it's not the best card for that. Because if you think about like the minimum spend and say you're getting like 100,000 points for the minimum spend or whatever, if you want to think of it this way, yeah, like something like a Sapphire Reserve, if you're out at a restaurant, might get you 3 points per dollar. If you look at the bonus, maybe you're getting like 20 points per dollar for the bonus, you know what I mean? So don't get trapped in, oh, but this is only getting me 1 point or something like that, because maybe dining isn't the category for whatever card. But you've got your Sapphire Reserve, well, that gets 3 points. It doesn't matter. When you're on a minimum spend, again, unless you know for 100% certain that you're going to hit it, you want to make sure that you hit it. So don't get trapped by trying to use other cards that might get better bonus categories for whatever you're doing. Just use this card, make it your only card, and make sure that you hit the minimum spend. Number 2, and this may not work necessarily if your friends are savvy about this game, because if you're like me, you've brought it up like at happy hour and stuff, you've told people about, hey, credit card points and miles, you can travel. Well, the second way that you can try to hit a minimum spend is maybe you're out at happy hour with your friends or something. You can pick up the tab, make it easy, you know what I mean? And just say, hey, I'll put it on my card. You guys can all Venmo me, we'll figure it out later, rather than getting everybody separate checks and waiting for everybody's cards to get run and everything, which there's something to that maybe. But again, if your friends are savvy, they're like, no, I'm working on a minimum spend too, or my card gets better points here. Like I said, if they're into this game, it might not work. But again, if you're just out with your friends, you say, hey, I'll just put it on my card and then you guys can Venmo me later or whatever. Then you got to make sure that they actually do. But you can, instead of having your happy hour tab of like 20 bucks, maybe you have like over 100 on there, depending on, you know, however many people are out with you. So that's another way too that you can try to think of hitting that minimum spend. Number 3 is plan around big purchases, big ticket stuff. So maybe you have to pay into taxes, maybe even on a quarterly basis if you have a business. Maybe you're still in school and you have to pay tuition, or maybe you just know that you have big purchases coming up. If these are things that you can plan for, and typically they are, you could try to plan for getting a new card around these times. So for instance, last fall, I knew I was getting a new camera for my video business. I made sure to apply for a new card because I knew, hey, I'm gonna have to spend like $3,000. I may as well get a bunch of points out of this, and then you consider it kind of like a rebate. If it's something that you were gonna buy anyway, why not get maybe even $1,000 in value back from those purchases? So again, this works for all sorts of stuff like taxes, tuition, even rent and mortgage payments. You could look at stuff like plastic. Now you do typically have to pay a fee for a service like that. For like plastic is around 3%, but if you're hitting a minimum spend, the value that you're getting back, if you look at like how much you're spending, like around $3,000 typically, and look at the value you're getting back, you might be getting like 30-40% return on your spend, considering what the value of those points are compared to what you're spending. So if you have to pay like 3% to eventually get 30% in value, that's a win. Now I try to look for other ways, you know, free ways that I can try to get points and pay for bills that don't charge a fee. But if you need to, maybe you're going for a business card that has a high minimum spend and you absolutely need to like pay your rent or mortgage for maybe even just 1 month to make sure you get over the line, that is a way to go. Now, number 4 is not one that I really ever do, and it is kind of a polarizing topic, but it's to buy gift cards for places you're going to go, services you're going to use, stuff like that. Now, me personally, I don't typically do this. I don't like the idea of wrapping up money somewhere just to lock in value now. There is something to it. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy, it's just not one that I do. So there are a couple ways to think about this though. So if you know, for instance, the local grocery store that you go to, if you know about what your monthly budget is, there's probably nothing wrong with putting maybe 1 or 2 months into a gift card for that grocery store if you need it to help you get over the line to get that minimum spend. Same with like restaurants, Netflix, PlayStation Plus subscriptions, really all that kind of stuff. If you know it's stuff you're going to use eventually, Amazon gift cards, and just load up your Amazon account, that's a good way to go. But like I said, you are tying up that money in the meantime, so I would really suggest, only doing like a month or two. It's really up to you, your budget. You're all adults, you know your situation, but just be mindful and don't wrap up a ton of money in gift cards because priorities change. If it's a subscription like Netflix or Hulu or something, who says you'll use it in a year? You know what I mean? Like, stuff changes. So just be smart about that kind of stuff and try not to tie up too much of your money. But if you do it strategically, gift cards are a valid way to increase your spend to hit the minimum spend if you need to. And last, number 5, this is one that I've done before, is get reimbursed for other people's purchases. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, for instance, here recently, my brother was doing some home improvement projects at his new house, and I went to Home Depot with him a couple times to run my Amex Gold, the minimum spend I was working on at the time. And there were a couple trips that were like $500, $1,000, and it really helped me knock out that minimum spend quickly. So if you know someone in your life, now of course this needs to be somebody really close because they need to reimburse you, right? So don't do it for some friend you haven't talked to in 10 years. Something like a family member, maybe they're still in school. You could pay their tuition, maybe if they're paying cash or getting student loans, however you figure it out. But the point is, if somebody in your life has some of these big purchases, big spend coming up, and they're not working on minimum spends, if they're not into this hobby or have cards of their own that they want to use, then this might be a way to go. So you say, hey, let me put it on my card and then you can just Venmo me later. That could be a pretty good way to get a lot of points and hit minimum spends. So there you have it, guys. Those are kind of the 5 tips that I frequently use to hit minimum spends to make sure that I always get the sign up bonus, because the sign up bonus is a big reason of signing up for a card. It can be even over $1,000 in value depending on which card you're getting. So you always want to make sure that you hit the minimum spend when you open up a new card. What I want to know from you guys is, which of these tips do you think is most helpful, or are there any I left out? Do you have any secrets or ways to make sure that you hit minimum spends? Let everybody know down in the comments. But if you guys have any other comments or questions, please do leave them down below. I try to get to every single one. If you'd like to get in touch, here's my social media links, which you can find down in the description as well. And last, before we go, guys, if you enjoy straightforward, to the point content like this, where we talk about credit card points and miles and how to get the most value out of this hobby, please make sure to leave the video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Pretty easy and free ways to help support the channel. That's all I've got for you this time, guys. See you at the next one. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a comment down below and give the video a thumbs up. Here's some other videos that I think you'll really like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well. See you at the next one.